Welcome back to Wealth Be Hers podcast. I am your host, Dr. Felecia Froe. And as usual, we are sponsored by Money with Mission, whose vision is that every woman have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. To that end, we have amazing people on the program, and I get to have conversations about money and their lives and their thoughts about money. And as maybe you guys are getting, money is a mindset, money is energy, and it's the way we think about it that makes it come to us or leave us. So today we have Jacqueline Camphor, a certified public accountant, certified tax planner, and best-selling author. Her business roots run deep. We'll get into that a little more into the show. She is the founder and managing director of Consensuals Consulting, LLC, and president and CEO of Affluence, Inc. Jacqueline partners with her clients to educate and equip them with proactive accounting and tax solutions that guide them toward financial freedom and legacy wealth. She graduated summa cum laude from Langston University with a BBA in accounting and a BS in computer science. She also holds an AAS in culinary arts from the Art Institute of Dallas, a true Renaissance woman. Among her professional accomplishments, she is the author of top-selling book Love, the Greatest Gift, and co-author of the best-selling book Shift. 20 women share stories of strength, courage, and succeeding against the odds, a collaboration presented by Nikki Woods, former senior producer of the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Welcome to the show, Jacqueline. Welcome to the show. Jacqueline, Jackie, tell me, what do people call you?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. We have not met face to face. This is our first time. We have started working together with accounting, which I'm really excited about. So happy to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. I appreciate the invite.
Where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Houston,
Texas. Oh, I wanted to also say Jacqueline was introduced to me by a member of the Wealth Be Hers community, Jessica, who really understands about building the team. So this is just all about us knowing who we need to know. And that's what Wealth Builders is about, is connecting each other and making sure we all have the best people working for ourselves. All right. Perfect. Jacqueline, tell us your money story. This is the question everybody gets at the beginning, and we'll go from there.
Ooh, so my money story started when I was a young girl in elementary school. I grew up in Oklahoma. We would go back to visit my grandparents who lived in Mississippi at the time. And I would help out in the summers at their store, which was so much fun. Didn't think anything about it. I would help stock the shelves with whatever supplies. And then got to ring up the customers at their cash register. So that's really kind of where my money story started, was helping out with them. And then my maternal grandfather was a barber. So they all, had this entrepreneurial spirit. So I just feel like I just kind of got it innately through them. They say lessons are caught more than they are taught. And I feel like that's where it began. And then just over time, I would negotiate fees for house chores. I would ask my mom, hey, can I iron the clothes? I see this pile of clothes over here. I'll do them for 25 cents each. And my mom was like, okay, sure. And I would just start to build money that way.
So first of all, we're in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma City.
Okay. I live in Lawton, Oklahoma. I don't know if you knew that right now. This is just like craziness. And where in Mississippi?
So it's northern Mississippi, just about an hour south of Memphis.
Got it. Yeah. And you went down there and you helped them in the store. Was money even a part of your thinking at that time? Or is this just, I'm helping in the store?
I'm just helping in the store. And so just started counting money. My grandmother would help out at the church all the time. And it's, she's passed away now. And I kept some of her journals, and I would go, would look at her stuff. And I was like, oh, I didn't know, how organized she was. Like, it's just crazy, like how DNA is. Like, you have the physicality aspect of it, but then the characteristics. And it's like, wow, I am my grandmother's granddaughter. It's like, wow, so much of who she was, I was able to see that through her writings.
In her journals. Okay. And when you were, how old were you? Do you remember when you first started going down working with them in the stores?
Maybe first grade, first,
Okay.
second grade,
So
maybe.
6, 7 years old,
Yeah.
5, 6. Okay. And when you started negotiating your fees for your chores, what were you thinking that you were going to do with the money, or what did money do for you?
So my friends and I, we would get on our bikes and we would ride to the store. We would buy pickles and candy and different things. So probably in my mind at that time, I was like, I need some money to go get these things that I really want.
To do what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And as you've grown, I know you went to Langston University. I was like, oh, where was it? Langston
Yes.
University.
Blank the
So
lion.
in school, did you have the same money mindset that money is for me to be able to buy things, or when did it, or has it shifted into money is something different for you?
So I would say high school, when I was trying to decide what it was that I wanted to be when I grew up, in my mind, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And then I was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, well, you're going to have to go to school for like 8 years. And I think as we're growing up, we have this thing where we're ready to get out on our own and live our lives. And so 8 years felt very daunting to me.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, well, you can be a CPA. And I was like, a CPA, I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
I don't even know how my dad knew what it was because I don't, I come from a family of administrators
Okay.
in education. And
Okay.
so where he got the notion from, I'm not sure, but I was like, man, I was great at numbers. I love math and I love computers. And so when he mentioned the accounting, it was just something that I was always looking at. So even in high school, there was an accounting course that was being offered. I was like, I need to be a part of that as I figured out what it is that I wanted to be when I went to college at Langston. I double
Mhm.
majored in accounting and computer science. So that was
Yeah.
kind of the path. And so I
Okay.
learned more about money and taxes. And my mom would allow me to go to her tax meetings with her CPA with her. And she would get these refunds back. And I was like, wait a minute, you get money back from filing your taxes, not knowing,
Yeah.
the nuances
Right,
behind
right,
all of
right,
that.
right,
So
right,
I
right.
kind of got to absorb all of this as I was growing up and then, just started understanding that, okay, money is a tool that, can help me build credit. It can help me with my taxes and it can help me build wealth. So it just kind of transitioned just kind of through the learnings and just absorbing what was around me.
That's really interesting that you went to accounting meetings with your mom, because I don't think many people think about introducing their children to their accountant, or even having them sit in the corner, keep your mouth shut.
Right.
And just what you said, you catch a lot of things just being in the room.
Absolutely.
So that, I don't know if your mom took you because there was nothing else to do with you, or she took you on purpose. Either way.
Either way, I got what I needed.
That with your grandmother's journals, it sounds like, and you just are that in the details, in the weeds kind of person, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely.
And we talked before we came on, that is not who I am. I am the above the clouds, looking down. Let me just, somebody help me with the weeds, because I can't stand pulling weeds. And sound like we all have our gifts to
Yeah.
give. Yours is definitely, definitely needed. I want to get into something else before we go into the taxes and the accounting part, because I'm really excited and interested in your culinary arts degree.
Oh.
Something that I was going to wait to the end. I was like, no, 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 no. I want to talk about that right now. What made you do that?
So, right out of college, I traveled 100% right out of college. And while my friends were hanging out, having fun, because, when we were in school, we want to grow up and live our lives.
Yep.
And I left college working. I was in Canada, I was all over the US just traveling. And I would come home just tired. And I remember having a conversation with one of my cousins who was working as a chef in Florida at one of
Okay.
the hotels. And so when he told me what he made, and I was like, wait a minute, he's making the same salary as but he loves what he does. Not that I didn't enjoy what I was
I
doing,
understand.
but
Yeah.
I was just tired. And
Yeah.
I come from a family who, I was, from the South. Everybody can burn in the South. And that's just what I was used to. And I was like, this cooking thing seems really interesting. And after just traveling so much, I took a break and just went to culinary school. So I was working at 7-Eleven at the time. I would go to school right after work and I would be there till like 11 o'clock at night. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
The level of camaraderie that we would have in the kitchen, I mean, it's just priceless. I mean, I just love those memories. And it was a bonus for me because my manager at the time when I first started, so being in the accounting field, we would have month-end closes and the team would have to stay late. He would let me leave. And so I would come back the next day when I would bring him the results of my class. So he told me I could leave whenever I wanted, as long as I brought him food. So it ended up working in my favor.
And for some, you were accounting at 7-Eleven?
I was accounting at 7-Eleven at the time.
Okay.
Part of that was I had right out of college, I was so with a double major in accounting, computer science. I went into implementing ERP financial systems for my clients. And so my clients loved that I was a CPA who could, also under the tech side of things. And but after a while, it's like, okay, I'm consulting for these multi-billion-dollar companies, and I've never worked in an accounting department per se. And
Okay.
I just wanted that empathy, just kind of, and then it just gave me a break from the travel as
Mhm.
well. And it actually worked out really well. So I did that, worked at 7-Eleven for 6 years, and then went back into consulting. So
What is ERP?
enterprise resource planning tools. And so I work primarily on the financial side. So I would implement the general ledger, the accounts receivable, fixed assets, payables. I mean, every financial module. I
Okay. And
I
that's where the computer science part came in for you.
correct.
And that stuff. So got it. So you worked for big companies for a while, doing consulting with them. What made you start your company to work with entrepreneurs and smaller businesses and individuals, hopefully like me, to help us with our taxes and account, just our money spending?
It's funny you asked that. So after 7-Eleven, I went back into public accounting. And so I started at Arthur Anderson, which at the time was Big Six. Then I was in Big Four when I went back into consulting. So I was, consulting at this time Oracle. And when I first got there, they were laying off every quarter, it looks like. And I remember having a conversation with my manager. I mean, there were just stories of people saying how they were in a meeting and they came in and said, "Hey, we need to talk to you." And they were just having to let people go.
Okay.
And I said, if they ever, call you, like, what would you do? And she said, I would do independent consulting. And I was like, interesting. And back then, you just didn't ask people about how much they made or any of that. But I got the courage and I said, hey, how much would you charge? And, what would you do? And I told her, I said, I can see you doing that, is what I told
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
manager. And I remember having that conversation probably a year after being there. I got a call. I was wrapping up a assignment. I was in San Jose, California. I had been in Silicon Valley for most of the time I was at the company. And I got a call and it just from the description of the email, I was like, this feels like one of those meetings, right? And so I went in that Monday and after wrapping up this client and it was sure enough, they were like, hey, we're gonna have to lay you off. And I was like, okay. So this was my second layoff. And I remember the conversation after that meeting from my manager. She said she would go independent consultant. She told me how much she would charge. And traveling from Dallas, because I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time, going
Okay.
to San Jose every week. My commute was probably about 8 hours round trip every week. I would be in the office, sometimes by myself at 10 o'clock at night, trying to deliver. My work ethic is strong. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
deliver, the best product for this client. And I was exhausted after that Monday meeting. And I just kind of went to bed for like a couple weeks. And I remember towards the end of that second week, one of my former managers from Arthur Anderson called and had been working at 7-Eleven. And the CIO and I had a great relationship. And he's like, hey, we're looking to pitch to 7-Eleven. We kind of want to know what's going on, what projects that they may have, is there anything that you can help us with? And I said, sure. And so, I was getting ready to, reach out to, for my former CIO and talk to her. And he said, by the way, is there anything that I can help you with? And I was about to say no. He said, well, do you need a job? And I was like, well, as a matter of fact, I do. So he gave me 3 options. One was working with a former manager of mine. She was a senior manager who had made partner, which I love working for her. So that was an option, but I would have been going back into corporate. There was a consulting opportunity, and then there was an independent contractor opportunity.
Okay.
And I just remember that conversation from my manager. And I said, you take that independent contractor opportunity. And it changed my life. I went into doing ERP. I doubled what I was making when I was consulting. And I've been wanting to go to Italy. So I had delayed my Italy trip because I was in the middle of a project. So I got to
Okay.
go to Italy. And I mean, it was just, I felt like, man, it's like this light bulb just went on. I had all of this flexibility and free time, but I was still making an impact. And so I started out doing ERP implementations, and just over time, I would have friends or whomever saying, hey, you're a CPA. I trust you. Will you do X, Y, and Z for me? Absolutely. And at the time, initially, I was just helping out. And then it was happening so much that I was like, I need to get paid for this. And so I added another vertical to our practice to
Okay.
tax and accounting. So that's kind of how that was born.
I'm going to go back to your layoff. And you said you've been laid off twice. What did that feel like? Did it feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Or just like, okay, well, I got this, and this going on. Tell me what that emotionally was like for you.
Definitely the second time was a blow. I understood the first time, kind of knew the nuances of what was going on, because the first time was I was doing somewhat what I thought was more W-2 work, but it was really contract work. So I didn't understand their policy in, if you're not on a project, then you can't be, employed with us. So that was
Okay.
kind of their policy, which wasn't really communicated. So I kind of understood that one because I was just kind of in between projects at that time. Whereas this one, and I kind of expected as well, because I had the conversation with the manager, but there is kind of that, yeah, what am I going to do next? Because I remember right before that it happened, I was at a wedding celebration for a friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's just like financially, what's going to happen next, not being really prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there was also this piece because I wasn't really proactively looking. I think maybe the severance was like, hey, I have time, right?
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
some rest right now and you'll have time. But, I also am a very prayerful person and my faith is strong. So I feel like I just, tapped into that as well. And just knowing that, it's going to all work out.
Everything's going to
No
be okay.
stress. Yeah.
Okay. Were you married? Did you have children? Did you have people depending on you financially?
No, not married, no children. And so, yeah, it was just me. So,
Okay.
yes, didn't have any of those in place. I had taken care, very responsible financially. So,
Sounds like you might have had some reserves, even if you didn't know what the long term looked like. I got
right.
time to work this out.
And I think because, not that we completely depend on our skill set, but I had this unique skill set with the accounting and the IT. So there was always something on the table with that.
Got it. And one of the things with Wealth Be Hers and Money with Mission is that every woman should have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that's not in her best interest, whether you walk away of your own volition or they push you away. I want us to be able to know that we're going to be okay. I have some time to be able to work this out. And we all have unique abilities that we just don't necessarily even pay attention to, doctor, a lawyer, and they translate into so many different things that we don't always think about that. So that's just a big important thing for me. When you talked about your first layoff and that there was something that you just didn't understand. about when you're not on a project, you're not working, you don't work, they don't want you anymore, it sounds like. Which is another thing, is like sometimes we're in a place that we didn't even realize. There's things you didn't even realize and you're going to have to go. I just want everyone to realize that being ready, having your options is just important. It's not even always up to you whether you leave something or not. Somebody tells you you got to go, and if you have nothing and you have people depending on you, you got a big problem sometimes. So building these options with watching your, being able to mitigate taxes, have passive income coming from other ways is just really, really important. Okay.
And I'll add to that, my relationships are very important to me. And I will say end up serving me. So if you kind of heard my stories, it was a former manager who called me out of the blue, who was trying to connect me with another, another relationship that I had. The CIO I had relationship. It was just like all of these relationships were building one on top of the other. And it's like, you know, everything that happened, it was like it was still setting me up for the path that I really needed to take.
Yes, yes. That network, the people that you know, never throw anybody away. It's a matter of what's coming. And it's not because you are going to use them. It's we
Right.
just all work together. It all came. You didn't call him. He called you.
He called me.
It's
Yeah.
like just it's worked out and got you, like you said, where you want to be. Tell us how you work with people now. What's beneficial about you and your company compared to, you know, H&R Block and there's nothing against H&R Block, you guys. Please don't H&R Block, don't call me telling me I'm putting you down. But there's a difference in having a personalized somebody working with you, somebody in your team, than having a big. Anyway, go ahead.
So we focus more on bespoke solutions for our clients. So we're looking at being more proactive. I started out in tax prep, which is, tax prep is great. As you heard me mention, getting this refund back. And it depends on, what you have going on with that. If you're doing tax planning, that's excellent, right? That you're getting a refund back. But if you're giving too much money to the IRS and, you're not tapping into all of the legal strategies that you could possibly do to save that money. So those are things that we look at now. So we're playing chess, not checkers, in that with our clients. And so, with the discretionary income, there's so many, I mean, the the amount of plays that you can make is it's almost unlimited. And so we look at more the proactive side of things. And the one thing that I love about tax planning and tax strategy is that you have to have solid books to be able to take those strategies. And, being the detailed person I am, I love pristine books. I love compliance, but I love taking advantage of the benefits of having, those solid books. And so that's where the tax planning and strategy come into play. So those are areas that we work on. We also do tax resolution for our clients as well. So if you've gotten in trouble with the IRS and you have a large tax bill, we'll help you with that. And then the CFO services as well. So having that virtual accountant CFO level service, we don't do any bookkeeping. Our level of service is, just next level. A lot of times with bookkeeping, there's just it doesn't go into the compliance, and it's just not me, but a lot of my CPA colleagues, a lot of times we're having to redo, and this is not knocking bookkeeper. There's some amazing bookkeepers out there, but a lot of times that accounting level compliance is just missing. And so there's ways that we, are able to help our clients. If they're not able to start off with the accounting, we can help them build those foundations so that, when they're ready to come back to us, they have a good playing field.
I have a couple of questions. One, what's the difference between accounting and bookkeeping? Let's start there.
So bookkeeping usually is just classifying accounts as they come in from the bank. Bookkeepers are not allowed to provide reporting because, the reporting is relied upon by the public. So they don't have the licensing or credentials to be able to do that. There's a lot of times with bookkeeping, you're missing the accounting level pieces like depreciation of assets, There may be the reconciliation between payrolls, just different things that from an accounting level, bookkeeping is just really keeping your books. So to make it plain and simple.
Do you use both? Do you use a bookkeeper and an accountant, or do you just want one or the other? Because I would think that if you have a bookkeeper, they can't do your taxes, right? That's not there. So you're going to need an accountant to do your tax preparation. Bookkeepers probably aren't doing tax planning and wealth management and wealth strategy. They're, like you said, keeping your books, making sure everything looks good. And in my brain has always been, I need a bookkeeper to do all that. And then they're going to send all my stuff to the accountant. And in the year, they need to be working together so that the bookkeeper's doing it the way the accountant wants it, so that the accountant doesn't have to do it all over again. Am I thinking wrong? Am I spending too much money? What's the...
Yep. Nope, you can absolutely do that. So you can have an accountant that serves more in an advisory role. But if you just have one, you just have the bookkeeper without the accountant, it comes time for tax, your tax prep,
Yeah.
then a lot of times things get missed, right? So if you don't have that advisory level to kind of help guide you through that year, so yes, you can absolutely do both.
Okay. Is that advisable or not? And we realize, you guys, I'm not giving you tax advice. Jacqueline's not giving you tax advice, even if she is an accountant, but this isn't what this show's about. This is ideas that you can take to whoever your team member is and just run it by them. So is it advisable to have both, or advisable if you have right now I have bookkeeping and accounting in the same firm.
Mm-hmm.
I have my pluses and minuses about that. But is that advisable, or is it just like, what's the best way to work with you? Let me just put it
I
out.
would say it depends. It depends
Okay.
on how you're being served, right? At the end of the day. So if you have an amazing bookkeeper and they're serving you well, then it's, I wouldn't, there's no reason why you wouldn't, do that, right?
Okay.
And especially if it's saving you in your monthly expenses. So again, it just depends. Sometimes if there's a client that comes to us and they're saying, hey, we're not there just yet to be able to start the accounting, one thing I will recommend is that they allow us to set up their accounting system in a way, 'cause, one of the key things from your financial reporting side of things is your chart of account structure. That is foundational. And
Mm-hmm.
that chart of accounts is not ready to go. The information that you're going to get out of your system to be able to make informed decisions is just not going to be there. So at a minimum, if you can do the foundational things, you can hire the bookkeeper to keep the books from that foundation. I think you will be in a better place than just doing kind of an out of the box type
Okay.
setup and just not having the information to assist you in your business.
Got it. Got it. And you work with individuals, W-2 employees also, or is it business owners only?
Primarily business owners, but a lot of times our business owners, they may have a W-2 job as well, and so we'll help with that. We have very few clients that we do only W-2. Usually our
Okay.
clients have businesses.
Okay. And to that, now I'm going to talk about a W-2 employee who invests in real estate or invests in businesses who don't think they have a business. Talk to that to me for me, because I talk to those women and there's like, but you have a business because you're investing. That's my opinion, accounting opinion.
Yes, being a real estate investor is definitely a business. So, and you want that information, right? Because there's long-term real estate, there's short-term real estate investing, and the nuances and the accounting requirements and reporting for that is different. So, you definitely want to know what those things are so that you're maximizing your tax benefits on that.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest things people don't know about taxes? And let's talk about W-2 employees. What's one of the biggest things they don't understand about taxes?
That's a good question. I would say maybe the biggest thing that they don't understand is probably the savings aspects of it, right? And just understanding the more often than not is the documentation. So a lot of times people feel like, well, as long as I tell you a number, I can get a deduction for this. And with
Mhm,
everything, it requires documentation. So I probably
mhm.
that's the first thing. And then just understanding that when you have that documentation, you're able to take advantage of deductions that you may not, have otherwise been able to take if you hadn't, one, had the knowledge and just, having that information to legally take those deductions to save you.
Thanks for saying legally, because I haven't worked with an accountant yet who's doing things that, as far as I know, are illegal. We might talk about gray areas, but nothing is illegal. And that is a big thing. So much of the tax code is written to actually save you money. And if you're
Right.
doing if you're W-2, is it the W-4 that you fill out that tells your employer how much money to keep out for taxes? Is that what that form
Yeah.
is? Okay.
Yes,
So
that.
that's not the only way to save money in taxes. And we talked earlier about Jacqueline's mom getting a refund. uh, And then you talked later about how there's different nuances that are you doing the right thing if you're getting a real big refund? Because I tell people, it's like you just gave the government a no interest loan for a year. And when that's money you could have used in some other kind of way to build your own wealth and legacy. So that's how I use accounting, like that. So I want to do this. What's the best, most tax efficient way to do this thing? I'm about to get this big hunk of money. What should I do to not have to pay half of it in taxes? I love having people that know that. I don't know. I don't know it myself. And what I think I know, sometimes I talk to the accountant, they're like, no, you can't do that. Like, okay. But what can I do? And that's the benefit of having a Jacqueline level person on your team, because it's tax mitigation. That's our biggest expense in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And we don't always look at it. We rarely look at it, actually.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes we'll get, maybe someone will say, "Hey, I have, I'm putting my car in the business." And it's like, what does that mean? What have you actually done to put the car in the business? And they'll say, well, I drove, they may give me mileage for, I think I drove about, 12,000 miles last year. Okay, well, show me where you've done that. Well, I drove 12,000 miles last year. And it's like, where is the documentation? And so that's where we run into the challenges. And to be able, you talk about the legal aspects, we have to push back. We cannot, help someone, skirt the law, if you will,
Right, right.
by avoiding, that level of compliance.
Mm. You're meticulous. Yeah.
But my license is also at stake as
Yeah.
well.
No, I
So,
get it. Like it's like being a physician, a lawyer. When you're licensed, it's not even just about the license. It's like it just has to be right. It's like it just has to be right. And then when somebody wants to push back, it's like, okay, well, you can do what you want because I'm not losing my license. Then it comes to that. I
absolutely.
get it. You also, besides being a chef, maybe you're a chef at home. I know you're not cooking in a restaurant or something like that. Or
I
maybe
did have a catering business for a little bit.
you did.
I did.
Don't
I
do it anymore. Too much.
So when I went to work for the consulting firm that I got laid off from the last time, before they would fully bring me on, they asked, it's like, so is this a business or is it a hobby? And I said, it's a hobby. So there was like, we just want to make sure. So I kind of had to shut that down
Okay.
at the time, and it was fine. I mean, I had my stint in it. I was offered a role so I started at Jasper's, which was, the first one was in Plano, Texas, which I love. Kent Rathbun was the owner of that. He was one
Okay.
of the chefs who did President Bush's inaugural reception.
Okay.
So, I was getting trained under the best, and I love chef, but I just remember what they offered me, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to live on this. So I was like, I would have to sell everything and kind of start over. That was not in my cards. I know some people like, hey, this is what I really want to do in
Yeah.
life, and I'm going to take the leap. And I just was not there. So I was okay with closing that down at that point.
Okay. And do you like at home, do you cook like a chef? Or
I
you
do. My son has food allergies, so
uh-huh.
I cook for him every single day.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
my mom is a great cook, so she's actually visiting us right now. And so he kind of, told me there was a pasta that I made for him. And so she made it today. So that's what he had for lunch. And so I said, oh, this is really good. He said, I told you, Mom. He said, I don't, I'm just gonna let you know Mimi is a better cook than you. And I said, she is. And he's like, yeah, I hate to say it, but she is. And I was like, it's okay. So,
Okay. With the facts are facts. It's your opinion, but it's a fact. Wow. I had this idea of going to Italy and doing the like just different culinary classes, and I've never done it. Like, not that it's off the table right now, but it's just, that's an exciting thing to me. We have a thing in common of book writing, and I know you've written two, or is it more than two?
I have just two at this.
Okay. So Ty, I put those in the intro, but what made you write books?
So I was introduced to Nikki Woods, who was Tom Joyner's senior producer at the time. And she was doing this collaboration with several professional women. And I actually talked in that book about my journey from corporate America to being an entrepreneur. And we all had different stories.
Mm.
And it was, I mean, that was my first time even really thinking about writing a book. And so as I worked with her on that project, she helped me with releasing my book, Love the Greatest Gift.
Okay.
So yeah, I plan to write more books. I'm sure I will probably do a sequel to Love the Greatest Gift. And I actually did just do an ebook for medical practice owners.
Okay.
So that's out on the page. So anybody that wants that ebook, but it's a, short version ebook. So yeah, those are my books that I have done so far.
Either of those have anything to do with accounting, or is this about you and your life and your journey?
So not really, more just life journey. So shift, like I mentioned, I talk about my journey from corporate America to entrepreneurship. So there's pieces of that in there. And then Love the Greatest Gift was just something that God had put on my spirit. I lost a good friend and, I just remember thinking, wow, we have to leave a legacy of love. And, some of us don't really understand what love is. And I just went on this journey of studying, the biblical aspects. So the book is born out of 1 Corinthians 13.
Okay.
That's really interesting. So I just took my own personal experiences from other people, and just layered it in with
Nice.
that verse.
Both of those available on Amazon, or
They are available on Amazon.
and how
Yes.
about on your website? Are they available through you?
I don't have anything up right now.
Okay.
For me, we did for a while in just managing,
That's a lot.
the distribution of that. So I just left it up to
Let Amazon,
Amazon. I
let
think it's
Amazon
at
do that.
Barnes and Noble and all the other outlets. So yeah,
They know how to do that. It's like,
yes.
I'm don't do what I do.
I
I
get my royalties from it and enjoy my life.
got it. You guys, those books are going to be in this show notes, so you can go there and learn more about Jacqueline through her books. How else can people get in touch with you? And if they just like, you know what, I need to work with her. I need to understand how make my W-2 into something more, be a business, all those kinds of things.
Yes. So you can just go to my website. It's accentualsconsulting.com, and it's ACCENTUALS consulting.com. And there you can learn more about us. And then if you want to book a call, we have a complimentary 20-minute session. And I'll be happy to speak with you about your challenges and just kind of where you want to go in your business.
Okay. I I think it's highly worth it. I did it. I'm really, really excited to have talked to you. I hope everybody else got as much out of this as I did. It's really good to meet you and know you. And just one more time, what would you leave everybody with as far as money is concerned that they should be thinking about when they're doing their planning? So it's not completely too late to do your planning for 25. So what's one big thing? And I know everybody's different, but if we could just overall it.
I would say just having an understanding about where you are and where you want to go in just your life, what legacy you want to leave, just kind of having that understanding. I think that's going to help serve you as you identify who to work with, or just kind of your next steps in your wealth building.
That's so good, because understanding where you are is, so many of us don't want to look at that, but you got to know where you are and have an idea in your head of where you want to go so that you can plan a trip. Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So people can't help with that. By the way, you guys, we're having a retreat coming in next March. So we can get together with a bunch of more women who are looking to do the things you're looking to do, change your mind about money, get more coming into your life. You'll get more about that coming up soon. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being with us. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been really good. See you guys next week.